Referrals are your shortcut to instant income.
Instant gratification.
But when you skip on the process, you learn no skills from it.
Yep.
So now think about in the future of your business, how do you scale? How do you create a system? How do you grow a team? How do you do all these things when you don't know any of the processes? What do you tell your agents? Hey, I brought you in. Here's what I did. I just talked to my friends and family members. You could do too. What skill are you teaching?
Thanks for joining us this week on the Elite Sales Podcast. I'm joined in studio this week, Misha, Elias.
Hi guys, how you guys doing?
Got John Bacaron, co-host.
Back in action.
Yep. And then we got a few guests that are going to hop on and share a little bit with us today. See, our topic today, we're going to be going over taking shortcuts in business. And, I think that's a pretty common theme that mostly everyone can relate to. So the thing is, before I get into that, I actually saw a really cool quote that I want to share with you guys. I mean, I don't know how cool it is, but I liked it. But for those of you that don't know, the Green Bay Packers, that's my team.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of Brett Favre. I mean, before all this whole Mississippi scandal thing, football related. Then I became a fan of Aaron Rodgers. And then there was this whole recent trade request. He got traded to the Jets, so I had some friends that were like, they knew I was a Packers fan. And they're like, what do you think about Aaron Rodgers being traded? Are you devastated? And then first of all, I'm like, I enjoy sports. I like watching it, but it doesn't define who I am.
Right.
I'm not on that team. They don't pay me. I have perspective about it. I enjoy when it's on, because it signifies I have some leisure time to be able to go and enjoy some stuff because I'm working the rest of the time. So, I've also in the perspective when it came to Aaron Rodgers, I'm like, he started getting progressively a little weirder for my taste, which he's entitled to have whatever opinions he wants, but he went to some darkness retreat and, he's all into like this weird spirituality stuff, which to each his own.
Yeah.
I'm not judging for that, but I felt less and less of a connection to him anyways as a person. So I'm like, And then last year, quite as kept, he wasn't even that good.
Mm-hmm.
So, when he requested the trade, I was like, cool, good for him. We had some good years as with him as a quarterback. Not going to change my life. I wish him well. Let's move on. But the new rookie quarterback, or not rookie, but he's going to be starting for the first time, Jordan Love. He's a young guy that's kind of unproven. And then one of his teammates said, Aaron Jones, the starting running back, he said, he believes in himself first off. That's number one. You got to believe in yourself or nobody else is going to believe in you. So he believes in himself. He cares about everybody around him. We've seen him just come in consistently and just work. As an athlete, you want to come in and play right away. And that wasn't Jordan's case. He didn't have that opportunity and he did it the right way. He waited his time and he never heard one peep or complaint out of him. He has everyone's respect and he works and he works as well, just like everybody else. Okay? So part of the reason why is because I wanted any excuse to talk about my Packers, but also, it's kind of a cool transition to watch two iconic quarterbacks that have quarterbacked that team for decades, 26 years or something like that. And then now we're moving on to a new quarterback, which I don't know how he's going to be. Haven't really seen any extensive time watching him play. So he could suck.
Yeah.
But then that's also part of life. It's part of business. Like if you want to transition and move to something better, move to something different, the thing is nothing goes on forever, right? Like everyone's got to move on. Everyone ages. Everyone comes to the end of a particular phase in their life and their career. So you move on to the next thing. So having him come on, I'm just kind of excited. Like it's something that's kind of cool. And hearing this, reading this quote about him, it's perfectly true with everybody. If you want to be valued, if you want to have success, if you want to grow in any type of industry, if you don't believe in yourself first, no one's going to believe in you. You guys believe that?
Absolutely.
I mean, have you guys dealt with people that want you to believe in them, that want you to give them time and work with them and all this other stuff, but they don't believe in themselves? It's like, how fruitful do you believe that's going to be?
Yeah. How do you push someone that doesn't want to get pushed by themselves? It's tough.
Yeah, it's not even just the being pushed part. It's just belief is such a strong thing that we kind of talked a little bit about last week.
Right.
But you got to be able to put in you got to have a methodology for everything. If you want to have success, you got to first believe in yourself so others believe in you. And then you got to put in that work. The only way that you can earn respect in this business, anything, is over the course of time with consistent work. And that's something that I'm excited to see Jordan Love take. And I hope it turns out well. I know Misha doesn't care about football at all.
I don't mind sports at all, but that's a good analogy.
It is.
That's a good example.
Well, if you were the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, I'd root for you too.
There you go. I like
Okay.
that because I believe in myself.
Okay. I don't know how far you can throw the football down the field. I don't know you
Not
can
too
sling
far.
the rock,
But in my eyes, I feel like I'm doing it far. You know what I mean?
good enough. Self-belief. We'll start with that. Reality's got to catch up.
Exactly.
But you know, when I was looking at shortcuts, the thing is, it comes up pretty often because I hear a lot of agents give me their ideas of why they think their business isn't growing at the rate that they want, or if they come in and tell me, hey, this is not working, blah blah blah, and I'm like, okay, why is it not working? So I actually want to hear the process. It's rather than saying like, oh, you must suck. Instead of saying that, I'm like, okay, well, I know that I know this can work, so let's backtrack this a little bit. Let's figure out what your process is, and let's figure out if there's something identifiable that we can work on.
Right.
We've had this conversation a few times.
Absolutely. I mean, I believe that the first shortcut that you gotta avoid is believe that you don't need guidance. You know, that's probably in my opinion one of the biggest shortcuts. You know, a lot of people think that they know a lot, and in reality they don't know anything, but they keep on making other people believe that they know a lot, and then you just look at him and say like, buddy, you're about to crash. You know, open up your eyes. So that's the biggest shortcut, believing that you know a lot, especially when we're in a new industry. You know, you gotta give yourself the chance to be taught, to be guided, to be coached, to tell you the truth. I mean, exactly when you are messing up, and that's something that you have to continue doing because it happened to me. It happened to me last week. You know, I mean, I reach out to you, and you know, you give me a couple of you know,
Gentle, loving slaps.
exactly, and then you go like, oh, shit, you're right. I mean, you know, so all of us fall into the exact same. You know, sometimes we allow frustration to get into us, but you gotta be big and humble enough to reach out. You know, so that I mean, again, believing that you know everything is the biggest shortcut. The second one is to when it comes to activity, like you know, I'm gonna reinvent the wheel. I'm not gonna buy leads. I'm not gonna do this. I'm gonna do what I believe is gonna work. And all you're doing is just getting yourself way behind. Now, that's another shortcut that you gotta avoid. You gotta, you know, just join the party, you know, per se. The wheel has already been invented, so there is no need for you to reinvent it.
Yeah. Why is it that you guys think people take shortcuts?
One is again, they believe that they know a lot, and two is laziness, in my opinion. You know, they get lazy because they see the process. They see that you gotta be on the phone. They gotta make phone calls. You gotta go door knocking. You gotta do a lot. You gotta do a lot of driving at the beginning, and that's why people, you know, they do shortcuts. You know, yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think it's instant gratification. You want the immediate results. You want the immediate income. You want the immediate sale.
All right.
That you're willing to bypass a lot of things that gets you there. Now, when you take shortcuts, you can get there, right? You can get some sales here and there.
Yeah, but they don't stick.
Some of them won't stick. You can't be consistent with it
Right.
because you never learned the real, you know, process to get
That's
that
right.
consistently. Right. So some people like we get this a lot as new agents come in like, all right, what's the best lead? What gets me the most money?
Right.
What type of product sells the best that I can make a lot of income in? I'm like, dude, they all work,
Mm-hmm.
but as long as you go to work.
Exactly.
So when you cut the shortcuts, like, dude, you can't cut a lot of the trials and errors, and that's what people are fearful of. They don't want to make a mistake. They don't want to go through the trials and errors, and I want instant results, continuous results. It doesn't
Right.
happen that way.
Yeah, when it comes to shortcuts, I mean, the reason why people take shortcuts is because there's a quicker and easier way of doing things, right?
Yeah.
Which is not necessarily a bad thing. The thing you have to look at is there's times when the shortcuts actually make sense and that can actually help you, and then there's times when the shortcut it can get you to a certain point, but it won't take you any further than that.
Mhm.
And the thing is, you skipped a lot of steps along the way. So if you you got to prioritize which things you can take shortcuts on, which things you can't. You know, just for example, you got on Ringy too, right? Which we're giving Ringy way too much press, right?
Right.
We talk about them.
But let's talk about
Every
Ringy.
week.
Let's talk about Ringy.
But you know, with Ringy or any one of those types of automated, you know, services that provides like the drip campaigns.
Yeah.
You know, help you manage your leads. It's a CRM system. It'll send out automated messages, automated, you know, it'll help you call. But the thing is, it makes sense in terms of using that as a shortcut. Do you want to sit there and manually input all of your leads rather than just upload all the CSV files and, you know, generate the leads for you? It can help you call, help you manage and arrange things. There's reasons why there's shortcuts for certain things.
Yeah.
And there's certain things that really can help you be a little bit more efficient in your business. But the thing is, you have to recognize, what can I farm out and what can't I?
Right.
Like here's a terrible example of a shortcut. There's as I started looking for leads, which our social media is listening to all of our conversations, you know, so as soon as Clifton and I have a conversation about leads, boom, I was flooded. My news feed's flooded
That
with
algo, man.
advertisements, right? For leads or whatever we talk about.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff I guess probably wouldn't be appropriate for this.
Right.
But no, so all these leads start popping up. Different vendors, different VAs, virtual assistants, and then there's one that says, "Hey, are you looking for closers? This closer can like log into your stuff. They can log into your accounts. They can close the deal for you. They can do the whole application and then use payment fee." And I'm like, "Oh, this is a great idea. If I want to get fired, if I want to lose my license, get terminated by carriers,
insurance."
Because just strictly compliance wise speaking, you should be handling your own accounts. Like, people should not be logging into your accounts unless it's like a trusted admin of yours. But, you know, someone else can't go out and sell for you on your behalf if they're not licensed. You know, that's a violation on your part. You put your license in jeopardy. You know, you put your livelihood in jeopardy. It's a terrible shortcut. And I get it. It seems appealing because, like, hey, I can just sit back and then other people do my work for me and I'll get paid.
Right.
I just give them a cut. Seems like a no-brainer, except for the fact you're not really doing anything.
No.
Like, it's number one, it's not legal, it's not compliant, but also, you know, you're putting your company and your business in someone else's hands.
You're licensed in someone else's
risk,
hands.
big time risk.
Yeah.
So going back a little bit to the Ringy per se. I mean, I don't see that as a shortcut. I see that as a way to simplify the process.
The management tool.
Because the management tool is something that is like, you know, before I used to have TurboTax and Call Tools at the same time, and it was fine for a little bit, but finding only one platform that can do everything, that's simplifying things, right? I mean, you speed up the process and all the stuff. That's working actually smart. I mean, it's cutting shortcuts is like the closing a deal. You know, like you just mentioned. I mean, that's a bad way to do a shortcut just because you don't want to go through the process, through the nose, through the, you know, the finding the company that is gonna give the coverage to some clients. You know, there is some companies that we use, right? That's if you go, I'm gonna go to this company because they approve a lot faster, and then you go to that one first. That's a shortcut. You know what I mean? But if you go through the process, okay, I'm gonna try this one, and you leave that one at the end, well, okay, that's part of the process, you know. But cutting everything that can pay you the most just to go for the simplest way to process an application, that's a big shortcut that is gonna cost you money as well. You know? So I mean, there's so many ways to do shortcuts, and at the end of the day, I mean, you can be losing a lot of money. But if you get to that application, to that company that is not going to pay you a lot, but all these ones turn you down, well, now you turn a zero into something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you went through the process.
Right.
The shortcut again will be if you go to the easy one without actually putting yourself through the process.
And I think that's probably the most important thing. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Because the thing is, everything could fall apart at any point. But the thing is, if you've been through that process, you actually put in the work, you put in the time, you've gained that experience. Why can't you do it again?
Right.
But if you shortcutted it, and then the thing is, you got to the end result somehow, some way, but you learned nothing.
Yeah.
Because you took some crazy shortcut and you just didn't pay attention to the process. You got there. how do you how can you consistently reproduce that?
Well, actually, it's a very good point. By doing these shortcuts, you don't learn anything. And then because you're not learning anything, I mean, you keep going through the exact same easy path. And when you actually encounter a situation that needs work, you don't know where to go.
Yeah. So I got a question for you. Controversial question. Either one. Do you feel that insurance toolkits is a shortcut or a tool for you guys?
It's a tool for me. It's definitely a tool this time, especially when we're on the phone, especially when you're on the phone. Because on the phone, I mean, you're trying to quote as fast as you can. What is if you go with this company and then you go through all the medical issues that the client has, and then you pull out your book or whatever, you go like, where am I going to send it? And then you only quote with one company. It's not taking a long time. You might lose your client. Where with the toolkits, I mean, you just type right there real quick. Let the system do the work. Oh, that's a simplified way that's a smart way to work.
So it's a tool. Yeah.
It's a tool. Yeah.
But for me, I can see how it can shortcut rather than me manually pulling up all these different carriers and running a quote. It could be a shortcut in that regard. But personally, for me, I already know what carriers I'm going to go with.
Yeah.
Going with Americo, Prosperity, AIG. Every single time. And just for business reasons, because they pay us a bonus. They're all instant approval. And then I have a specific order in which I methodically go through, right?
Right.
So the thing is, for me, I don't need to run all these different quotes for different companies because I know already what I want.
Right.
I already know what I can help the clients with. I'm sticking to that plan. Right. So I look at it as a tool. I don't look at it as a shortcut necessarily.
Yeah. I see it for me. I just see it as for a brand new agent, it's a good shortcut, but it hinders them because sometimes it will show you a lower rate from a different carrier that's in our portfolio that can get them starting an application and then it never gets approved.
Right. Oh, we see that a lot.
Right. So when you're a brand new agent, it's a good band-aid, but it hinders you in the long run.
I can see that. Yeah, you're right.
Like I'd rather have a new agent stick with Albert's 3 main carriers. I would tell them learn Prosperity's prescription medications, Americo's prescription medication. If you can't get them approved for those 2, send them to AIG. Right. Because otherwise you'll see from the insurance toolkits, there's multiple percentages of like a few cents cheaper than the other. And it's on the number 1 list. Brand new agent, let me go with this one. Do an application. Don't get a fully underwritten application. Don't get a full decision on the spot. 2 days later, it's declined. Now you got to do a follow-up. Is that become a shortcut now or is it a hindrance? Right.
Well, John and I have been in this industry for 16, 17 years.
Yeah.
So the thing is, back when we were doing this, they didn't have Google Maps. They didn't have Apple Maps. So we took the Thomas Brother guides.
Yeah.
The Thomas, those old maps that we used to flip through like a book that you go buy at Costco or
that's how we mapped out.
And then we used to just run our appointments that way. Just look it up. Oh, got to go down this street. Got to go down this street. And then you actually had to pay attention to the roads. And then before you knew it, by the time you're done with that lead pack, you knew the whole city.
Yeah.
Right. But now with the shortcuts, with Apple Maps, with Google Maps, all these different mapping systems that you have on your phones, Waze, whatever. The thing is, no one really knows where they're at.
Yeah.
Like I'll ask, hey, what street do you go down? They're like, oh, I don't know. I just put it in my phone and then I go. So that's a shortcut. But then the thing is, it doesn't allow you to actually learn anything in depth or actually understand how the process works.
No.
So, you just got to be aware of little things like that. And if you don't care to know, I guess it doesn't really make a difference to you.
Yeah.
However, if you get lost without your phone or your phone goes dead, good luck to you.
We've been driving long enough and around all of Southern California. Like you can put me in one location. I can tell you where north and south and west, east. I tell you where to go to the freeway just from knowing the locations.
Right.
Isn't it funny though? I mean, like that remember that they used to have that old joke, and Darren, you probably know about this, where they used to joke about men never stop and ask for directions.
Right.
Even if you're lost, you like your pride won't allow you to do it. You're just gonna keep driving around till you figure it out. Now with Google Maps and all these things on your phone, like you don't have to do that.
Hey Siri, where am I?
Asking for directions is looking it up on your Google Maps now.
Yeah.
But before we get into a couple of guests that want to come on and share about shortcuts, here I took some notes. But why did people take shortcuts in the first place? Number one, you don't want to do the work, so you find others to do it for you. Mm-hmm. You can cheat your way into it. You can find an immoral way to do it. You're always constantly looking for life hacks. which Yoel and I, we talk about it quite often because we find certain things where we're like, hey, that makes sense. But we don't really think about the consequences of taking these life hacks, right?
Right.
Some of them make sense because some of them, these steps in the process don't really matter. Like cleaning life hacks, right? If you're cleaning certain things, it's like, why did I care about the entire process anyway? I just want to get to the end result. But so the easy way out, it can be quite problematic in the long run. So number one, you miss out on the journey. Okay. That's where you learn all the stuff that you need to learn for it. You may not appreciate or value what you actually end up getting because you've skipped right to the end, instant gratification. You can lose out on the learning process of it. And then after a while, life can feel dull. Right. Because there's no challenge that you need to try to figure out. There's no process for you learning. Like you just skip straight to the end. And it's just like, yeah, I don't know how to feel about that. And then I took some more notes, and it says, and I was thinking about where can you not really take shortcuts? Number one, relationships. You take shortcuts, it's bound to implode at some certain point, right? Your dreams and your goals. Okay. That should be something where you actually put time into it. Your career, which is what we're talking about here, and fulfillment and happiness. So if you find a shortcut to any of those things, you're gonna be very hard pressed to find the value in it, fulfillment in it. It's just going to be kind of empty. And there's certain things that you can take shortcuts on, certain things you can't. So before I continue to ramble on, Darren, why don't you go ahead and unmute yourself? Thanks for hopping on and sharing with us today.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. Hey guys, how's everyone going? Going good?
I'm good.
Good to see everybody again. And so Chaz Maddox, are you on? Say something. Unmute yourself, Chaz.
Yeah.
There you are. I don't see it. If you guys can see Chaz, he's a monster. So Chaz is my newest recruit, newest hire. Actually, kind of recruited himself just through. There he is. Hey, wave to everybody, Chaz. And anyway, Chaz was my heavyweight wrestler back in 2000 and was it 9? Chaz?
9.
2009.
Yeah, 9.
And so he knows about. We got some stories, man. I called him today and I said, "Hey, get on that Zoom call with me today, Chaz, because we got some freaking stories talking about shortcuts, right?" And are there any shortcuts getting to the state championship?
Unfortunately, no.
That's the truth, man. You got to work your butt off, don't you? Yep.
Yeah.
He had to work his tail off. Chaz was a state runner-up, and if it wasn't for a freaking locked hands call that he didn't have, but they called locked hands, we would have won state. And anyway, I know bad memories, right? But he was right there one way. And but Chaz was he knows about these stories. Chaz, do you remember the time we would have my guys run every day from the wrestling room to the lake and back, and it's 1.5 miles to the lake and 1.5 miles back from the lake, right? So the 3-mile run. And we did that to start practice.
I don't remember it being 1.5 miles. I tell everybody it was 10 miles, but it was probably 1.5 miles.
It felt like it. It was a 3-mile. Yeah. But I drove my car, right? So I did. It's a 3-mile jog down there and back. Well, one day, Sean, I don't know if you remember this, that Sean Peoples comes back to the wrestling room.
Oh, yeah. He was like 45 minutes early. Yeah.
Yeah. So he comes back, and I'm looking, and he has thorns and stickers all up and down his legs. I'm like, Sean, what's going on, man? Yeah. And he's pulling off these stickers. I'm like, get out of the wrestling room, because first of all, we don't want him on the mat. And so he goes outside, and he says, "Coach, I'm going to be honest with you." I said, "I know what you did." And he said, "I cut through that field." And I said, "Absolutely. You thought you took a shortcut, didn't you?" He said, "Yeah." And I said, "How'd that work out for you?" And he said, "Well, obviously not very good. He never did that again." And so are there shortcuts in life, man? In order to get to the top, to you to be a state champion, to be the best at whatever you're going to do, whether it's selling insurance, wrestling, playing football, whatever. Chad is a football coach at Blanchard right now, and in a big school in Oklahoma, and or a good football program. And there are no shortcuts. There are no shortcuts. If you're going to get to the state title, you guys don't take shortcuts, do you? You kids got to bust their in the gym. They got to work hard every day in that gym, don't they? They got to run their sprints, do all the stuff that you guys have them doing. There are no shortcuts to the top. So if you guys want to get to the top, you've got to start from the beginning, and you're going to make mistakes. There's no better scenario to talk about than wrestling, right? Because in wrestling, it's mono, one against one, you against one other guy, and there's not 10 other guys on the field that can kind of hide behind, right? It's you against that one other person. And at the very beginning, how many times I remember when I first came out, Chaz was a freshman, and he was a pretty good size freshman, but he wasn't muscular, right? And he was just big, kind of heavy set and big though. He was still big.
No,
Yeah. And how was it?
I was as wide as I was tall. You can say, Coach. It's all right.
Yep.
It was brutal. Brutal.
That's right. It was very brutal. And I watched Chaz go from brutal to a little bit better. His sophomore year got pretty good, but then something happened between his sophomore and junior year. He started developing, but more than just developing muscle, memory, right? You began to realize, hey, this stuff works. And what was the biggest thing? I think it was confidence, right? Because once you started beating the good kids, your confidence.
And little things. Yep.
Yeah. Say it again.
I said, and just focusing on the little things, like they were saying, instead of just kind of pushing it away and not worrying about anything else. It was more everything that I did, kind of like they've been saying the whole time, trusting the process and kind of digging into it rather than trying to get around it.
That's right. There are no shortcuts. And so, Chaz, this is really cool that Chaz is my newest agent, and I got to develop Chaz as a young wrestler and watch him grow into a man in wrestling. Like, he was a freaking beast. His senior year, only lost a couple matches all year, and people were scared to death of wrestling. And the same thing's going to happen in this. I get to develop you, right? So there, in coaching, I see myself as a coach in this just the same as I did back when I was coaching wrestling. I'm coaching you new guys and teaching you how to do it. But guess what, Chaz? Your freshman year, it was rough, man. Or growing up as you're wrestling, it was tough, and it's going to be tough on your first year here too. You're going to have growing pains. There's going to be times like last night. We went last night to our very first appointment, and our very first one would have to be a door knock because they wouldn't answer the freaking phone. So we had a final expense door knocker, and we knock on the door, and the wife comes out, peeks out there, and she freaks out a little bit, goes gets her husband. He comes out there and he's like, "Who are you guys?" And we told him, and he says, "Whoo, thank God." He said, "I have a bunch of fines." He seen Big Chaz standing behind me. He said, "This guy scared me to death, man. I thought he was about ready to haul me off to jail." And we started laughing, but good thing I had Chaz with me. And anyway, but so that wasn't it didn't work out. That wasn't what we wanted it to be. We go to the next house, and it was a mortgage protection lead that we had, but it just wasn't perfect, right? So, but you know what? Did you learn anything last night?
Yeah.
So we got to do a little bit.
For sure. And it's funny that you were talking about this, like as far as, you tell me your success story and all that stuff. And it's easy to relate because you said earlier that, sports wasn't your life, it doesn't affect you or not. But literally sports is my life right now. And, I'm a football coach. I spend a lot of time with it. And so the fact that you said that it's not, and then it is part of it for me, but I've still caught myself looking at trying to skip past to where, Coach White or Darren, or whatever you say, he's always going to be Coach White to me, but trying to skip that part to be where he's at versus, just doing the grind work. It's hard not to get caught up in that. And so this has been kind of cool for me, just listening to it and not expecting to be super successful right off the bat just because Coach White's good at it, and I've still got to put in more work and, treat it like I would anything else. It's been good just listening to that part. So I wanted to say that real quick. So
nice. Good. And so Chaz gets it, right? Because he's lived the experience. And any athlete on this call tonight knows you didn't get to where you were or where you want to be without having to go through the growing pains. And sometimes you got to go out there and get your butt kicked every day, and my thing is go out there and you always took you guys to some tough tournaments, right? Because you needed to wrestle the best to know how to beat the best. But I also took you guys to Shreveport once a year, didn't I? And we went to a
Yeah.
tournament in Shreveport, and it was easy because people in Louisiana didn't know how to wrestle. So we would take our Oklahoma boys to Shreveport,
Shots
we would
fired.
we would kick their butt, and we'd win that tournament.
Hey, I'm undefeated in Louisiana. Don't forget that.
Say what?
I said I'm undefeated in Louisiana. Don't forget that.
Absolutely. I think our whole team.
No kidding. No
We'd
kidding.
go down there and we'd kick butt every year. But, it was pretty good. But what it did was build confidence, right? And you guys, so we would come back from Louisiana. We'd come back champions, man, ready to take on the world. And what did we do? We'd go there and kick butt in Oklahoma as well. So in this mindset, let's talk about going from coaching there to what we really need to be talking about. We have lots of ages on here. And is build your confidence, right? So what I'm going to tell you today is go out there and don't expect to go out there and make a huge commission on a big IUL product or whatever it might be. Go out there and get you some final expense leads. Go out there and earn, a $50 or $60 a month policy and earn it, right? And start small and learn how to sell final expense, because it starts off there, guys. I promise you, it starts off with final expense, learning how to sell that product. Get out there and take baby steps. Get out there and set goals of something achievable, and go out there and have confidence in yourself. Get out there and do it, and just work yourself up there. So baby steps, like Chaz talked about. I've been posting on the group me. You guys have seen it. Chaz looks at it and he said, "Man, that's crazy." Like, well, Chaz, I promise you, I never made that goal until now, and I've been doing this for about 5 years now. It's taken me that long to really to achieve those type of goals. But that didn't happen at the beginning, and I wouldn't have put those kind of goals on myself. But now that I'm ready, I think they're achievable, right? I'm on target to do that. And so I don't have much more. I feel like I'm dominating everything, but I hope that this kind of relates to some of what you guys were talking about.
Hope you're enjoying the video so far. Please make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, anything to help support the algorithm so we can continue to bring you more valuable content and continue to be part of your lives. Also, if you don't feel that it's providing you that much support since you're already at this point, like and subscribe anyway. That's right. That's right on point with what we're talking about. By the way, for our friends at the FTC, that's one family per day. That's what Darren said. But Chaz, while we have you on, actually, great to meet you. First of all, heard a lot of great things about you from Coach White. He'll
like
always
that name.
in our hearts be Coach White.
Yeah.
But you understand not taking shortcuts, because the thing is, for you to make it to the state championship, for you to achieve at high levels in terms of sports, if you were cutting corners, if you're taking shortcuts, if you're cutting through the field, you're loafing it whenever you had a chance when someone wasn't looking, who would suffer in the championship match? Who would suffer when it came to performance?
I mean, it'll show up. Yeah, it's always going to show up eventually, one way or another. It's going to be me, you, like your personal self. So that's why I was saying, like, I appreciate everything that you've said so far, because it's been really eye-opening for me as I kind of get into this, rather than treating it as, well, I'm a coach and a teacher and I don't make enough money, and so now I need to supplement it and it's going to be easy. Well, it's not. Like, I get that, and it's kind of helped me kind of dig in, you know what I mean? Like, because Coach White said, like, last night, whenever he set up those appointments, I'm thinking, oh shoot, man, we're fixing to get in this, and I'm going to see how easy this is. And he did say that this is probably the 2 worst leads that we're going to get.
Yep.
Like, they're not always going to be like that. Like, he said that the last time to me, or the last thing to me before we left, and I was thinking, God, thank God, because this is going to suck. Like, I'm not going to do this for long otherwise, because I'm doing this for my wife so she can stay home, and I want to be able to provide, and I don't make enough money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yet I was looking at it as, oh, well, I'm fixing to, without putting in the work and all that other stuff. It's been good. So,
well, I mean, going through in terms of some of the difficulties that we may encounter that we run across, those are actually good character building moments. They also allow you to really appreciate the successes that you get along the way. So it's not a single transaction in which defines your career. It's the process of you going through, facing challenges, you overcome that somehow, and you find a bigger challenge to try to take on, and you keep moving on from there. It's like the Lakers are in the final, or in the playoffs right now.
Yeah.
If they were sweeping everybody, like how sweet would the victories actually be?
Right.
It'd be like, yeah, we're supposed to win. It's like, what's the big deal? It's every time that you get punched in the mouth, you come back, get punched in the mouth, you come back. That makes it that much more rewarding. And I think people tend to overlook that, just look strictly at the result of things rather than the whole process. Which,
hey, Albert, let me throw one more at Chaz, and I think you guys would like this story.
Sure.
Chaz, you remember the time you guys were literally, y'all were getting bored to death with my practices and like running and like, coach, mix it up, do something different. You remember going to the YMCA and going swimming?
I do.
It was not the freaking hardest thing you've ever did, just about.
It was.
It was ridiculous, right? So what happened was, Albert, these guys were, and we had about 30 guys on my team, and they were getting to where they weren't working hard anymore. It's because you get to doing the same thing over and over and over. And they were like, coach, mix it up, man, do something hard. Or, this is like, they weren't pushing themselves anymore. And I saw
we're good at it.
Yeah. Yep. They were level, man. They reached a certain plateau. And I went home at night and I told my wife, I said, man, I've got to do something different. So I called the YMCA up, and they got a big indoor Olympic-sized swimming pool. And I said, we're going to bring my wrestling team over tomorrow. And they said, sure, bring them over. And so sure enough, we get there, and they had a Marine guy that was a drill sergeant that was there. And he said, coach, he said, you mind if I take them? I said, take them, man. They're all yours. He gets these guys in the swimming pool, and they're doing laps. And like
you didn't set that up?
No, man. He came to me, and I'm like, sweet. So go get them. They're all yours. And he was screaming at them like a drill sergeant. I thought I was going to lose half my team. And literally, we had, for Ryan Recker, I thought he's going to die. And he's a little, anyways, I ain't going to get there, but he didn't think he's going to make it. But yeah, these guys it was hard, like, because you got out of the routine and did something different. And guess what happened though? After about a week of doing that, and I said, okay, that's enough, because they were like, they hated it, right? And it was hard work, but they came back, and guess what? Now that we're running sprints and we're running bleachers and all that again, you guys were kicking butt, right? You're like, oh crap, I don't want to go back to the water again. And they were pushing themselves. Sometimes you got to get out of your own way, and you got to go. So if things are getting just stale, go find you another level, and go find something else that'll push you to get you to that level. And then you begin to appreciate where you were before. So thought I'd throw that in. I thought that was kind of I forgot about that.
That was good. That was good.
Got to make these boys work.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool. But Chaz, one more thing with now that you're a coach, the thing is, having gone through all those different steps along the way, you're not taking shortcuts, you're not cheating the process, you actually putting in that work, putting in that time, and you've earned that feeling. Now the thing is, wouldn't it be very empty for you to now tell your guys to do the same thing? That's something that you didn't do yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, it's Coach White knows, again, because it took me a long time to accept the second place medal, because like he said, I got called on something that nobody really agreed with at the time, or I feel like nobody agreed with, at least on my side. And so it took me a while to get to the point where I was okay with second place, because it was that year, like you said, I was only beat twice. One was with the 5A state champion, and I was and so my only other loss was that second loss in the state finals, and it was a match I shouldn't have been at, or shouldn't have lost. I mean, and it took me a while to get to that point, but then, I feel like 5 to 10 years later, I finally realized, like, hey, that I was actually proud of it. And it was, you were talking about the journey, and it wasn't necessarily that one match that I was defined by. It was the whole work ethic and everything that I built up through that to basically set me up for the rest of everything else. Because for a while, it turned me off of wrestling, where I didn't like wrestling anymore. I didn't want anything about it. Didn't want to be a part of it. And it took me a while, and then I finally got to the point where I was comfortable with it, and then I got to the point where I was proud that I was even in the state finals match. And that's whenever I started to really respect the journey, like you were saying, as far as building to the point of everything that I did got me to this point. I mean, it's just like many of the Disney sports movies, I guess you'd see around. Like it literally was that for me, where I lost one that I feel like I shouldn't have, but I was able to reflect back to everything that I learned getting to that point. So it was really helpful for me as far as that goes.
Yeah, no, there's really nothing to sneeze at. I mean, for you to get to that point, I mean, it's an accomplishment. And as long as you gave it your all, you did everything you could, even if you came a little bit short, you learn from it.
Right.
And it's so important to stick to the process. While you were telling your stories, I remember that when I was in the car business, I had a manager that used to tell me all the time, "Hey, don't cut corners, don't cut corners." And I didn't realize which corner I was cutting until, I was talking to a certain amount of people and I wasn't closing any deals. And then he sat down with me and then he asked me, "What do you think you're not closing?" And then I went through my process and I realized that when I was outside in the lot, I will greet somebody and then I will ask them what kind of car they were looking for. And then I will take them, let's say they were looking at a Tahoe per se. So I will take them to see the Tahoe. And then people will look at it and go, "Oh yeah, this is great. Oh, you like it? Yeah, okay, perfect. Let's go talk numbers." And I was cutting that big corner of actually having to drive the vehicle. So they never drove the vehicle. And when I was inside, I mean, I suffered to close deals if I was able to close it. But most of the time I didn't close them. And then he told me, he goes, "Well, that's because you're cutting corners. That shortcut that you are taking from bringing them from I like the car to talk about numbers without driving the vehicle is what you're missing." And I've seen it here in the insurance industry when we think that we have a lot of experience and then we're talking to somebody and we start quoting them without asking them what they're looking for,
Right.
without asking if they have any medical issues and everything. And then we give them a quote and the client gets excited. Then you submit the application, gets declined. And then you go like, "Well, I mean, do you happen to have this or this and that?" And now it's an uphill battle. Now the person doesn't trust you anymore.
Right.
So yeah, you gotta follow the process all the time. Otherwise, I mean, you're just gonna keep on failing and until you realize exactly what's that you're doing wrong, that is gonna help you to get to the actual closings. So yeah, you gotta follow the process. Absolutely. Don't cut through the field. He did.
No, that's a really good example. I think a lot of times people start to subconsciously start cutting corners because you're trying to get to it very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be for different reasons. It could be because you don't want to get cut off by the client. You're trying to save them time. It could be for good reasons. But the thing is, if you don't have someone to keep you accountable, like if you're not on live dials, you don't review the process with someone. If you're not getting the results that you want, I mean, you can't really pinpoint and identify because sometimes you probably didn't recognize, hey, that actually matters.
Right.
I can't cut this part out of my entire process.
Exactly.
Yeah, I have a story. It's funny. I think it was after the convention, the LA convention. We were at Jack Hughes' house, and I was playing basketball with his son, right?
Yeah.
And we were just balling it up, just having fun, and I was just like throwing some moves at him, just having fun because he's like 12. I think how old is he?
Stanley?
He's like 12, something like that.
Like 10 or 11.
Yeah, something like that. So yeah, and he's like, "Yo, show me how to do those moves. Like, how do I do that?" And I was like, "I mean, I can show you, but you need to get like the fundamentals down, or else like you're never gonna be able to use this in a game because you're gonna be, you're gonna lose the ball, you're gonna mess up, and it's just gonna be a turnover. So it's gonna be like counterproductive." And he's like, yeah, but like just show me. And I was like, "Nah, I don't think you get it. Like you need to learn how to dribble first. You need to learn how to dribble with your right hand, left hand. Then you can throw that extra stuff in once you kind of, have those things locked in." And it was just funny. It taught me it reminded me of when I was a kid, you just want the exciting stuff. You want the fun stuff. You're not willing to do like the boring little things that are going to make the fun stuff actually realistic. And you don't have the skills yet to do those things.
Right.
It's just a really interesting moment that I always remembered.
He wants a rematch, by the way. He said he's going to ball you up now. But anyway, I mean, that's actually an excellent point. I think
Smart.
For anyone, if you guys have someone that if you ask someone for a shortcut, say, how do I get there faster? And that person actually takes the time and says, well, you probably shouldn't because X, Y, and Z. And they actually have some results that you want. They're in a position that, because if you're asking someone that hasn't achieved anything, whatever you're trying to do, I guess their perspective may not matter that much. It may not apply so much. But if someone whose level that you would like to be at, you ask them, they actually take the time to say, hey, don't shortcut this part. Actually go through and do this part, because it's going to play a role in your development, your growth, that person's actually helping you out in the long run. Because it may not be the answer you want to hear, because maybe you just think, I want to not do the work. I just want to get there quicker.
Right.
But then if they give you a shortcut, they're not doing you a favor. In
They're
the long run, it's not going to help you actually have any real success with that particular thing that you're trying to achieve in that particular thing. And if it means something to you, don't take the shortcut. JP, can you unmute me real quick?
Hey, what's up, guys? How are you doing?
Yeah, you said you had a couple of things you wanted to share regarding this topic.
Yeah, and thank you guys for having me on. I took some notes down of we had a lot of great points, with Darren and your name's Maddox Chase. Is it Chase or
Chaz.
Maddox?
Big Chaz.
Chaz?
Yeah, Chess. Sorry.
Chaz? Hey, sorry
I
about
was
sorry
I
for
muted there for a second.
Yeah, no, we had so many great points mentioned so far in this call, and I'm very grateful to be a part of this team. And just looking at everything that we've done over the time, with FFL Elite's been great. I think some of the shortcuts that we make in this business is not having the proper expectation when we enter. And we all think that, when we join the business, I don't know how long some people have been here, but they see people, writing or helping 20, 30, 40 families a month. And they expect that from the beginning, and they try and find ways to get to that ending quickly. Some ways that people end up doing that, they try and find as many friends and families as they can write to get to those numbers, but they really didn't learn the process of learning how to sell, learning how to buy leads, learning how to have a lead strategy, learning how to be on the phones. They didn't learn that process yet. They helped 20, 30 families in 1 month, but it was all warm market business. That's one thing that I noticed even for myself when I first started. Of course, we all want to be on the leaderboards. I wanted to be on the leaderboards. So when I started in 2019, I had a few good months, but a lot of it was warm market and referrals. Now, is that good for myself? Yeah, but was it good for my actual business? No. The reason why it wasn't good for my business is because it didn't teach me how to actually sell a lead, not someone that and get them to buy from you, but someone who fill out a form online, they requested information, and that information turned into, information turned into you getting them a policy. I think that's the biggest learning curve that I had to get over, and have the proper expectations, and not try to have shortcuts by, writing more market or people, or even referrals. So as we all adjust and get better in the business, just as I can say for myself, and I hope I'm speaking for myself, but I hope that other people have felt this too, is that, the more leads that you buy and the more time you spend on the phone, the more money you'll make and the more confidence you'll have, to where you feel like you'll never have to use a shortcut in any part of the business, because you'll have that confidence of running your business successfully time and time again. But Darren, I mean, you had some great points there. Thank you, Chaz. Misha, you had some excellent points as well. There are no shortcuts in this business. We've all been here for quite a while, and that's all I really got.
Awesome.
And to agree with that point that he just mentioned, I mean, in fact, I had the same conversation with some people on my team, that they kind of were refusing to buy leads. And they said, oh, yeah, no, all I want to do is talk to my warm market. And I told them pretty much what he said, yeah, you can talk to the warm market, but you're not going to learn anything, and now they're getting to the point like, man, I mean, I'm running out of people, people, because they've done this several times. They have approached the family for Herbalife or whatever all the stuff that they were selling, So yeah, I mean, no, you definitely have to put yourself through the process in order for you to be successful. I mean, the mistakes that you make along the line, and that's what is going to give you the confidence to actually not continue doing the business, but to actually help and teach somebody to, to show them the right path. So yeah, there's no shortcuts. Shortcuts don't help.
Well, when it comes to referrals, and that's a great point, JP. The thing is, when it comes to referrals, it's neither a good thing nor a bad thing on its own. Because it could be a shortcut, it could be a legitimate way of helping people that need it. So the thing is, something like referrals, you got to look at it like, what is your intention behind it? If you're doing it because these people genuinely need insurance and you want to help them out, you can get them into a better plan or whatever it is. It's a great thing. But the thing is, if your intentions for selling referrals is because trying to be cheap and not trying to buy leads, or you're just trying to get paid, and then these people don't have a genuine need for it, like that shortcut will not help your business.
Right.
It's only going to hurt you in the long run, because number one, not only the fact is some of that business might fall off, you might end up getting some chargebacks, but you also don't learn how to do the business.
Yep.
And then most importantly, above all else, you never actually go through the process of learning how to do this legitimately. So you start feeling like you need to continue to do more and more shortcuts because that's the only way for you to do it. You've cheated yourself of the opportunity of recognizing I'm capable. I can actually do this thing. This is actually not that hard. But instead you cheated yourself because that shortcut has just made you think this is the only way. Like you're constantly playing catch up. You're constantly trying to just figure out the next paycheck because you let yourself fall behind. So, which, like, if you've done it in the past, that's okay.
Yeah.
People make mistakes. People might be looking at the opportunity a different way. Maybe you didn't have this perspective before, but the thing is, look at the bigger picture. You know, if you really want to have long, sustainable success, there's no other way around it. You got to put in the work. You can't cheat the process. You can't take shortcuts the entire time. Figure out the right shortcuts and continue to focus on those.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good point.
Go ahead, Albert. Well, I was going to mention something about the,
Go for it,
and
please.
I apologize if I didn't clarify when I said the referrals. My bad. I was saying just don't rely on them.
No.
Like,
I totally got your point.
yeah.
I just
Yeah,
wanted
'cause
to step over and,
I was like, yeah, don't be that agent that's gonna say, hey, JP, don't worry, I got plenty of referrals, I got plenty more market. You know, I'm like, well, what's your lead flow looking like? What's your dial schedule looking like? So yeah, I just wanted to clarify that. Yeah, just don't rely on referrals, but referrals are perfect.
no, there's no need to clarify. Man. Look, everyone has a different perspective on it. I'm just sharing with you what I've seen in my 17 plus years.
Yeah.
Well, the
For
issue
me-
with the referrals and the family is if you only want to focus on that.
Right.
I mean, because
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's the problem. You only want to focus on your warm market and your referrals. And I mean, no, you have to buy leads. I mean, the referrals are good. Going and help family, it's good,
Right.
but don't cheat the process, like you
Yeah.
said. You still gotta
Referrals-
go buy leads.
Referrals are your shortcut to instant income.
Instant gratification.
But when you
yes.
skip on the process, you learn no skills from it.
Yep.
So now think about in the future of your business, how do you scale? How do you create a system? How do you grow a team? How do you do all these things when you don't know any of the processes? What do you tell your agents? Hey, I brought you in. Here's what I did. I just talked to my friends and family members. You could do too. what skill are you teaching?
Right.
Right?
None. So
How do you grow
the
this?
person's gonna say, well, I have no friends, I got no family.
There you go. I can't scale.
Well, isn't it kind of funny? Like in our time in building a team, like we've actually had agents that said like, hey, I'm gonna sell my mom a policy, so what should I show her? And I'm like, well, what does she need? And they're like, it's my mom. They'll buy whatever buy whatever I show her. And I'm like, okay, great. I mean, like, what a salesperson! Like, you're not, way to provide value to your own person that you love. Right?
Yeah.
So I mean, you got to keep that perspective. Just look, if you can genuinely help someone, do it. If there's certain situations where you try and shortcut the process, like you're really hurting yourself in the long run. And that's the point that I'm trying to get across. So JP, thank you very much for sharing. Darren, you had something else?
I'm just going to say, so even for my new agents out there, right? Chaz and everyone else that's new, we get a lot of new agents that come on this thing often. And sometimes we get caught up in even just talking about referrals and talking about other things like what really, where are they going? What does that mean? And all that. Here's what I'm going to suggest at the beginning. Even I remember when I first learned insurance, I watched a training video over and over and over again. And finally, my wife said, I've seen that video like 30 times, get out there and sell, right? So I called my son-in-law Landon up and my daughter, and I said, I'm going to come over there and I'm going to present to you guys. And I presented to them just like I would have the next day when I had an appointment, but I needed to practice with them. And I treated them exactly like before it's over, they're ready to buy an insurance policy from me. So like when you go to go sell a policy to your mom or your dad or your aunt or uncle, whoever it might be, go out there and treat it like a sell. Go out there and do the whole script, the whole 9 yards, practice it, watch the YouTube videos of in-home presentations, go sit there and with them. And I don't care if it is your mom, you sit there and go through it. And then when you get to the part, you need to call your manager. Chaz, I expect you to call me up and say, hey, Mom, I'm going to call my manager. He's going to make sure we put you in that absolute best place. And you let me help you. And I don't care if you're doing it with your family and your friends, that's where you learn. So you got to take those little steps, but start off there. And then when we talked about referrals, all we're talking about is at the end of the day, when you make a sale, a gentleman a couple weeks ago talked about this, and he adds to it. So referral is an appointment without having to buy a lead, right? So your family and friends will say, you're going to say, do you have anybody that would be interested in needing me to talk to them about getting some life insurance? Or maybe they'll give you the names of people that are beneficiaries, and you're going to call those people up, and you're going to let them know that that you're there to help them, and if something happened to Sue, you're the beneficiary. And then, by the way, I'm a life insurance agent. Do you have time to visit with me? So that's what a referral is. And the referrals are great ways to add to what you've got. But always remember, we are a lead company, right? So our business is based on leads, because you run out of warm market. At some point, they're going to get sick of hearing you, right? So we create business by buying leads and enough leads to keep you busy. And this business is all about activity and how much time can you work. And I always say this, Chaz, when you think about whether you're working part-time or full-time, make sure you're putting in those hours. So like on your case, it's going to be part-time because I know you got a coaching job and you're teaching. You can probably but you can put in 20 hours a week. You might have to do it on Saturdays and evenings, or maybe 10 hours, 15. But Jamie, being full-time, is going to have 40 hours a week that we're going to need to put in. Treat it like a job. And if you treat it like a job, ask yourself, am I putting in 40 hours a week? If not, why not? Well, because you don't have enough lead flow. So we got to make sure we got lead flow. Then are you getting the referrals, and are you calling and all that goes with it? But it starts off with number one, starts with leads. And that's, I just wanted to kind of bring it all in together.
Excellent point.
Great job.
Yeah, because we don't want people to think that referrals is not a good thing. It's a little bit nuanced, although I'm sure everyone that's really watching, what it actually means. You might be just trying to massage it into a definition that works for your particular business model. But if you have any confusions about it, if it's you want clarification, reach out. I will gladly discuss that with you. But looks like we're plumb out of time today. But Darren White, Coach White, thank you very much for coming on.
Coach, thank you.
Big Chaz, JP, John, Misha, Yoel, everyone that contributed. Appreciate you guys. And don't take shortcuts for things that are really important to you. We're going to send Big Chaz out there to beat you up if you do. So, all right, go out
Send
there
Big
and be
Chaz
elite,
to
guys.
tackle you.
Thank you.
Power double.
Have a good one.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you guys once again for supporting. If you guys want to see more of that, please make sure you like, subscribe, click on this link here to subscribe. Click on this link for the next video.